Immerse yourself in stories of people and businesses shaping the economy of the Putnam County region. Get the scoop on development, small town successes, and hear from business leaders, entrepreneurs, and natives bringing innovative ideas back home. Our goal is to inform and inspire you to feel rooted to the place you call home. I'll be your host, Amy Sealtz at the Putnam County CIC. We're excited you're here. Welcome to Putnam Pulse. This is our story. Hello there. Today we are here talking about the Putnam County Better Together training series, and we have two distinguished guests with us today for the podcast. We have Rosemary Buerger from the Ottawa Area Chamber of Commerce and Carol Turchick from the Ohio Northern University Center for Corporate Engagement. And we are going to be talking a little bit about some of the lessons in managing small business environments and how to develop supervisors in manufacturing. So welcome, Rosemary and Carol.
Thank you for having us.
First of all, we're really excited about the Chamber and the Putnam County CIC and the Workforce Partnership of teaming up together and partnering with you to bring some training here local for our businesses. I know Rosemary and I hear a lot from people about what the gaps are in their businesses, and we don't have a lot of training entities here, so we're glad to have you here. How was it that we kind of arrived at the point of what two areas to focus on first here in 2025? How did we come to that realization that these were the two kind of buckets we were going to start with?
Well, I think there was a need. We did a survey through the chamber, and we asked the question, what are we lacking in? And education was the number one thing that they said we were lacking in. So you and I discussed that, and we later talked with ONU as well. And so what we found is they wanted to know how to be better. They wanted to know how to grow their businesses better, and they wanted us to bring that to them. And so that was part of this. It was part of growing entrepreneurs and raising them up.
And I know from the Workforce Partnership of Putnam County stance, they also do a survey. It's great we can collect all that data. And what they heard from the manufacturing community was that there were opportunities for them to consider succession planning in their businesses and think much earlier on about how to not only develop supervisors, but continue to develop their employees in a way that it would increase their retention and also help with recruiting new employees. So that's how we came to this point. And luckily for us, we met Carol and also Mandy from Ohio Northern. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the center?
Sure. So we are excited. We're about 2.5 years in developing the center, and the center's main goal is to provide resources to the Central Ohio region for professional development. So we do that through Ohio Northern, and we use facilitators that are practitioners in the field and have great facilitation skills to really work with companies to make sure that they're having the programs that they need and developing their employees.
Excellent. And your colleague, Mandy?
So Mandy came on board. She was already with Ohio Northern, and she had been in a similar role in professional development at a corporation prior to that. So she was the perfect fit to move over into the center and help me to build the center and to really understand from the Central Ohio region what they needed in that space. So we did a lot of listening to what it was that they needed in professional development. And what we heard, similar to what you heard in your surveys, was this people skills manager, supervisor area that really understanding how to lead others was a real need.
I really enjoyed Mandy at the last Ottawa Area Chamber meeting. She did a presentation on these programs and some of the reasons why. And there were some statistics that she shared that talked about nationally what employees are saying they need help with and assistance with. What was your take on that, Rosemary, and what did you hear from your members? And Carol, how does that roll into having these real life practitioners come and educate that? So it is some academic, but it really is real life.
So for us, we had some sort of naysayers in the beginning when we started talking about this program. They were like, oh, we don't need one more training session. But after Mandy's presentation, I heard, we really need this. we really need to pay attention to what's happening with our employees. We need to find out how we're building our leadership, what we're doing to make sure that they know we're confident in them so that they can go out and be confident in their jobs. And so it was a real eye-opener to, this isn't just another program to pay for. It's another program that's going to enhance and really impact their business. And so the feedback from it has been wonderful. The presentation was absolutely amazing. And the stats that we got from that day really opened people's eyes, because we said it earlier, you don't know what you don't know until you're told. And so this was really a lot of that.
Yeah, and a lot of companies are promoting from within. They're recruiting people that are great individual contributors, have excellent technical skills, and then they're growing as an organization, and so they need to put these people into management positions, sometimes a lot earlier than maybe we experienced in our careers. So they may be right out of school and they're managing others. They maybe have been in the field as a technical contributor for a couple years, very good at their roles. And so that logically leads people to believe they should be moving into manager roles. With that comes also, though, not the experience or lack of skills to actually manage other people. So according to Gallup, 40% of people are saying that they need help in managing their teams, and about 60% say that they need help in developing their teams. If people aren't feeling like they're developed, they're not going to be engaged. And if managers don't know how to develop them, then they're going to go find other opportunities.
Do you feel that employers, either one of you, do you feel that sometimes letting their associates out of their business or allocating time, employee time for people to go get trained, that they feel like, oh, there's a learning curve, or they're not going to actually take those skills and actually bring them back to my business? It's maybe not a good use of their time. And what kind of success stories, or how do you think we can combat that thinking? Because we know that it helps reduce employee turnover. And while people could stay, typically if they're being developed, they don't. So can you talk to that a little bit about the things that are going through a small business owner or a company's idea on the time and cost away versus what it does to productivity and other things for them as a benefit?
Yeah, I would say that you're spending that time and money no matter what. So you're either spending it on developing those people, getting them the skills they need to be more effective and efficient as people leaders. If you're not doing that, they're spending the time on the back end managing conflict and avoiding or trying to have critical conversations that they may not be skilled to have, or pushing things down the road that should be addressed. So the time and money is probably spent. It's just, where do you want to spend it?
Exactly. It goes back to that. Do you have engaged employees? If you're spending time developing them, they know that you care about them. They know that they know that you want them to be successful. So that short amount of time away from work, I know it can be impactful for a small retail business, because if you don't have enough employees already, then how do you let one go? But at the same time, it's costing you money whether you do this or not in some shape or form.
Yeah, and according to Gallup, 33% of U.S. employees are engaged. So that means that there's a lot of people that aren't engaged. And there's actually 16% that are actively disengaged. So these are the people that are bringing the other people down as well, and not actually producing. So engaged workforces are 17% more productive. So there is a bottom line effect to in getting people to be able to learn how to engage their employees and their teams.
And we all know companies are all about the bottom line, right? No matter how big or small that they might be. So can you talk a little bit about why people are quitting today? I know we always hear every day, workforce. It's such a challenge finding people. To develop them and hope that they will stay seems like, a no-brainer these days. Why is it that some people are quitting? What are you finding in your work or in your experiences?
So I think there is, just culturally where we are in the world today, I think there is a shift in the understanding that people are going to stay a long time. I think these next few generations that have been coming up, it's not really the way they work like maybe people have in the baby boomers or the Xers. And it's not just definitely generational, but there is a shift that people want to move around for many different reasons. They may want different experiences. But the reality is, if you don't develop them to work as effectively and efficiently while they're with you, then you're not going to be getting out of them what you could be while they're there. And then there is a cost if you don't do it. But Gallup does say that 70% of people quit because of how they're managed on a day-to-day basis. And then 13% actually leave due to a lack of career advancement. So they do want to understand, if they are going to be with your organization, where are they going to go, whether that's an independent contributor track or whether that's a people leader track. They do want to have a clear vision of where you might see them going up within the organization. And they also need to be tied to the mission. And I think one of the, especially in these next generations coming up, they're all about purpose. So it used to be the number one thing was money, was pay. And now the number one thing is purpose, and attached to what is the mission and how do I fit into that mission. And if you have people leaders that don't know how to connect those people that are working for them with the mission and where they fit into that day to day, then you really are going to have employees that aren't engaged.
Right. And we, in some of our talks with businesses, are finding that, some of the older generation find it hard to trust the younger generation to do the things the way they did them. So when we work with people and we discuss how the younger generation might not do it the same as you would, but you're going to have to build that trust, having them buy into the purpose and the mission of the business, even if they're not an investor into the business, but having them have some sense of belonging to it creates a stronger relationship with that employee and the business, and they will stay. But if they don't feel appreciated, they will walk out and they'll go build it themselves.
Right. And I think one of the skills the people skills we talk about is delegating is a big one. And so, really a lot of people, including myself, feel I could do it faster, I could do it better. It's just easier if I do it. They're not going to do it the same way I am, or they haven't had enough experience, or they're going to mess up and it's going to cost us time and money. So that's very common. But what's happening is that not delegating and taking the time on the front end to really provide that opportunity to do those activities will decrease engagement. So delegating is actually a very strong engagement tool for people leaders to be able to engage people in the mission, understand what work needs to be done, and then help them to develop as an employee.
That's amazing. I know when Mandy was doing her presentation, she said, do you know what your people think and do when you aren't there? And that just really, that was kind of like a mic drop thing. So when you're talking about we have to make sure that they are engaged, that should be rising to the top of every single employer's list, no matter what your sector, how many employees you have, because you're never going to be able to step away from the business otherwise, right?
Right.
And that whole work-life balance thing, I know you've had many programs on that, Rosemary. It's such a critical thing this day. We need our business owners and our leaders to stay healthy and want to stay in business and thrive, and not just lock up the doors and say nobody else can do it like I can.
Right. And we talk a lot about culture. And so that's really what culture is, right? What are people doing in your workplace? How are they representing your organization? Who do they feel your company is and how they belong? And so that culture is going to happen whether you provide it or you don't. So it is another positive impact from developing your employees is you're also shaping your culture of the organization. And when you're a fast-growing company, a lot of people, they operate at 50 people, and then all of a sudden they're 400 people. And so really the time to do that is when you're 50 or 100. Before you grow, you act as if you are that large so that you're ready for bringing people on. You bring them into the culture you want. You develop them the way that you want so that they feel connected to the organization when it's 120 and 200 and 300. So really, you can't be too small in doing the work, knowing that when you grow and as you grow, because a lot of organizations all of a sudden wake up at 400 people and say, how did we get here? And they did the things they had to do to get there. But this is also something that's often overlooked as a thing that needs to happen to get there.
And then you have this big behemoth organization. It's much harder, I would assume, to weed through, right? And get that to
Absolutely.
all levels of 400 people.
Right. And then there's the aspect of, these 100 people built this company and these 300 people didn't. And they weren't there. They couldn't have done that in the first place. So how do you really maintain the legacy of the company that everyone built, and then also bring in the new people to lead the company as you're going forward?
I know Rosemary and Kelly and myself all went to Ohio Northern University last summer and attended one of your day-long programs there, one of your open enrollment programs, to kind of get a feel for it. And I thought the real world experience and the work experience and expertise that your facilitators bring to the table made it really valuable. We enjoyed that there was such a diverse group of people in the room, and it didn't feel like I had to share too much or it was hokey. Talk a little bit about your facilitators and maybe what you go through to vet them and make sure that they're a great match for these trainings that you're bringing.
Right. That's a great point. So it has to be people that really do have some real world experience in business and understanding the implications of what's happening in businesses and what these managers and people leaders go through. So I think the discussion in the room is really one of the most impactful learning aspects. So we hear from the different companies, different industries, and then the programs are designed to facilitate those conversations. So there's real world activities that make the learning and the concepts real, but then really truly the facilitator having the ability to bring out from people in the program real world experiences and questions and discussions. A lot of people leave and think, wow, I didn't have it as bad as I thought I had it when I got here.
What was your takeaway on that day?
The takeaway that day was, we're in a very isolated industry. We're in a small but large industry in the chamber, and hearing from other business owners and business people, we all have the same problems.
Right.
And it was very interesting to find out how that we could resolve those issues in a variety of different ways. One of my favorite activities was the ball activity. We were all handed different shapes, sizes, balls, imaginary, real, and you had to find someone else to give it to, but you couldn't give it to someone who had already had it. And so you had to think fast, converse with people, and really solve a problem very quickly. And that's real world. You have someone who comes through your door into your business and they've got a problem. You can't just always hand that ball over to somebody else, but there may be somebody else in your operations that can take that ball, fix that problem, and then you've become a team in problem solving. And that was what it was. We were all becoming a team in problem solving, and I just really found it very beneficial all the way around. I loved that class.
That's great. Yeah, it's great to hear that it has a lasting impact, which is what we want out of those programs. So if someone can be in those programs, and they will absolutely take away 2 to 3 skills or tips or tricks that they're going to implement immediately. So after every program, we go around and ask what people are taking away. And, it is the eye contact. It's the, what are the 6 steps I'm going to do to create a critical conversation that I need to have? What are the 2 things I'm going to do that I'm going to start to delegate? How do I make decisions? And what's that decision funnel look like that I need to think about before I make decisions? So they're real practical things, and the facilitators are skilled at bringing that learning out in the program and relating to the people in the program.
I want to get a little bit into just a few maybe high-level topics that'll be included in each of the 2 trainings. And so the Managing in a Small Business Environment training will be a half-day, April 2nd. Would you want to tell us a little bit about just some high-level things that people will practice while they're there and what that looks like?
Yeah. So as we had mentioned, a lot of the similar topics would be, delegating, building and leading teams, how to have that critical conversation. Really, what is your culture, and how do you, as an individual people leader, drive that culture throughout? How do you communicate? I mean, in any situation, when we ask people, what are your challenges? It's always some form of communication. So really helping people to understand how do you give feedback and coach? What's a coaching culture look like as opposed to just throwing feedback over the fence? And what does that do for individuals to be engaged and to do better? They really want to do better. So really understanding how to do those particular things.
And I think for our small businesses, I am in and out of them every day. And so having the ability to be able to walk away and knowing that their employees have learned skills that will help them walk away from their business so that they can go on vacation or they can have a sick day. This is what this course does. It helps you build that team, and it helps you sort of raise up your leadership. And leadership doesn't have to be somebody who's a manager, because every person that walks through your door engages with an employee of yours, and they are frontline leaders, whether you want to call them that or not, but that's what they are, because they're the first people that the public sees when they come into your business. So having them learn these skills is invaluable.
Right.
So.
And a lot of it has to do with trust. How do you build trust? How do you, again, start to develop people to be able to manage the business when you're gone, in their roles or across the organization? Because in a small organization, it's all hands on deck many times. So, do you really have the skills to do whatever it takes for any employee?
For the Manufacturing Emerging Supervisor Program, that is 2 full days, and we're going to be offering that here in Putnam County April 23rd and April 30th. 2025. And that has some of those same communication pieces and skill development pieces, but it is tweaked a little bit, especially for manufacturing companies. I know we've had some other electrical companies, construction companies, some landscaping companies that maybe they're not manufacturing in the sense that we're all working on an assembly line, but they're manufacturing a service. They have a good number of employees that need really technical skills. And also they're looking how to transition people into those manager roles. So can you talk a little bit about that program and what that will look like?
Sure. And as you mentioned, many of the same skills will be in that as well. It's a lot about how do they get people engaged. It's not something that they've done before, but it's the listening, it's the building trust. It's also a little bit more on prioritizing, like how do you actually get your work done, do your work while at the same time supervising other people. That's a when you move into that role, that's a challenge, right? How do I get the work done and then do all these other things on quote on the side, and then influencing. Even if, as you said, Rosemary, maybe you don't have a manager title, but you're in a role that you have to influence teams or projects or those types of things. So what does that look like? And again, feedback, communication, just really all of that rolled into how to be a real good supervisor.
I know this is a question that is both near and dear to both your hearts as it is mine, but regularly, if not weekly or monthly, and I'm sure you do too, people talk about, what are we going to do to keep the next generation here? How can we keep our young people here? What can we do to get our natives back home? I feel that these things of developing our employees and the engagement and that they can find jobs here that are meaningful and successful and all that plays right into this. I'd love to know your thoughts on that topic about how development and support plays into that, the next generation, either trying to keep them here or woo them back.
I think one of the things that always strikes me is that this is a great place to grow up, raise your family, and live, but we don't always think about the work aspect. But if we're doing those things here, we're building a future of businesses that will attract those things. They will attract you to come back and work here and build your life, both in your work life and your home life. And so I think it's the full package, but having these courses available is just like the big city. But we're doing it here in Putnam County. And so having that available will help create that kind of atmosphere, I guess, to learn here and to grow here, just as if you could do that in the big city, but you're also getting the benefit of being in Putnam County. So,
and that experience with other people who could be your peers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would add that the new generations that are coming here and coming back home or wanting to work, and culture is like the number one thing now, right? And so it's, I think sometimes these generations get a bad rap about, they want to work from home and they want all these things. And I understand too, the companies that were built in this central region were gritty, and the people worked hard, and it's generational. And, you just did what you had to do because you had to do it, and you didn't think twice, right? And your car was in the parking lot at 7:30 at night because that's what you do. And so there is something so amazing about the hardworking people that just did the hard work and maybe didn't have the work-life balance. I mean, that's really how companies were built, and that was the culture, and that's, what people were used to experiencing. And so I think people struggle with this generation of people wanting a little something different. So they do want to leave at 5 o'clock. They want to see their kids' baseball games. They want to have a different culture and feel. And in big cities, there's a lot of opportunities to go to a company that might provide that. So I think companies realizing that you can hold on to the legacy of this is how we've done it. This is, we paid our dues. We built this company. We're gritty people, and we're hard workers. That also applies to this next generation, very hard workers. They just want to work in a different way. So I think if you can embrace the culture and the history and how you got there, but then also develop a place for people to come back that have the kind of work-life, there's no balance, but work-life experience that they're looking for, that will be more attractive.
I could just sit and listen to you talk about this all day.
Yeah, I hear it all day.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And
it's possible. That's the thing. It
is possible.
Not that difficult. It's a mind shift. It's a growth mentality. You got to be a little innovative. Just like when these companies were started, it just feels a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Our legacy businesses here in Putnam County didn't get their longevity by doing the same things the same way all the time. They grew with the times, and so that it can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we all agree there's a lot of great value in getting people around the table to help them learn, to help them grow. And I always think there's always a sense too of being in a room of other people that are making things happen, that aren't afraid of that innovation, that are maybe looking beyond today. And if that's something that somebody doesn't find in their own organization, this would be a fantastic place to get around those people for either a half day or a couple days and learn and make some new relationships and so forth. So we're really looking forward to this program, and we really thank Ohio Northern University for partnering with all of our business organizations here. And for those of you that are wondering, all the enrollment and registration information is live on the Ohio Northern University website. You can also find that on the Chamber website and the CIC website. And if you have any questions, just let any of us know. We hope you enjoyed this episode. To catch future episodes of Putnam Pulse, follow the Putnam County Community Improvement Corporation on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. You can also learn more at putnamcountyohio.com. Thanks for listening.